Well, good afternoon, class. Today is July 17th, and this is module number 9 over chapter 9, Managing Conflict in Relationships. Once again, I'm in the Michael Fowl Library. And you may be wondering, who is Michael Fowl? He was the department chair here at the University of Oklahoma. If you look behind me, you can see there's some pictures of Michael Fowl, if you can zoom in. Or if you type in Michael Fowl in Google, I'm sure you'll find pictures of him. I guess he was a big Twins fan, and he's originally from Minnesota. But anyway, so I'm back in the Michael Fowl Library for the afternoon because it's 100 and something degrees out. So hopefully you're inside as well watching this. First of all, I want to talk about last week's video. I wasn't sure what happened with last week's video, but for some reason the sound went twice as fast as the video, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. So for the email, that was incorrect, but if you go to the online posting on the online classroom, you can find, I linked the Dropbox, so it's the actual video, not the video that's on YouTube. So you can access the video that's normal speed if you're wanting to watch that. It just doesn't have the text at the beginning and then the PowerPoints at the end, but you can access those anyway. So if you were confused about why last week's video the audio was faster than the video, I don't know why. Hopefully I fixed it for this one. But the video itself looked perfect. It was just when I put it into the video editing program, it made something wrong. So anyway, you can view the actual video on the online classroom, and so don't worry and just ignore the YouTube one because the audio is kind of weird. Anyway, so I wanted to tell you, I guess I'm cheating on you guys. I'm also teaching a public speaking class beginning last week at OU. Half my class is on the football team here at the Sooner Nation, so it's my last time teaching public speaking, I think, at OU. So, anyway, so I've been starting to do that last week, so I've been doing all kinds of things. But that's a face-to-face class in the morning, so then I come to the library here and do this 2 days a week. So, just a reminder, there's assignment number, number 7. It's the emotions assignment is due tonight. Then on Thursday, the assignment over the workplace culture activity is due, so make sure you turn those two in this week. The assignment for this one will be due next Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. And then, so that's that. So that's all I have for announcements. Let's go ahead and talk about conflict. Your book calls this Managing Conflict in Relationships. There's a big issue in communication, whether we want to call it conflict management, conflict resolution. And so conflict management means you're always going to have conflict, you just manage it. Conflict resolution is that you can resolve the conflict, then you wouldn't have it. So it's two different, it means, to most people that means the same thing, but in communication there's a big debate what to call it. For the purpose of this class, we call it Managing Conflict because that's what the book calls it, but it's really not much different. So anyway, let's define conflict. In the class, in my face-to-face class, I kind of do an activity where we talk about what conflict is. But your definition that you should know is that there's an express disagreement, which means there's a disagreement. There's interdependence, where you could go separate and just have the conflict, but there's a felt need for resolution. So you could go separate ways and just have the conflict, but both sides believe that there is some need for resolution. So express disagreement, there's interdependence, where you can't both get things resolved, or you have to go your separate ways, and both of you have a need to resolve the conflict. Or I guess in the case with this book, it'd be managing the conflict. But anyway, not important. So conflict is natural in relationships. There's no conflict that does, or no relation that does not have any conflicts. You can have covert conflict, and you can have overt conflict. So stuff that's expressed, or stuff that is not as expressed. Generally, when you have a social group like a family or a group of friends, they have a kind of an idea of what conflict is, and how you should express those and how you should behave in conflict. Conflict can be managed well or poorly. You can, and there's lots of different conflict styles. There's stonewalling, which is considered negative. Then there's some sort of a meet in the middle, which is more positive. So you can manage it poorly and well. And conflict can be good for relationships. I mean, you're not going to have relations that are perfect, so conflict can make the relationship stronger. There's a lot of research in dating relationships. The first big fight that a dating relationship has, there's a lot of research that says that that's actually a positive for the relationship, because it means if you have the conflict and you just go your separate ways, then there's no commitment to the relationship. But if you have the conflict and you stay together, then obviously there's some commitment there and a desire to maintain the relationship despite the conflict. Then also in the face-to-face class, I talk about some conflicts that people have had, and then I watch some conflict. I think I watch a video from Pursuit of Happiness, a clip from there when the husband and wife are fighting. There's a number of different ways you can solve the conflict. One is lose-lose, which no one's wins. That's how it's going to go. There's win-lose, where one person wins, one person loses. And there's win-win, which is what you want, which is where both sides have some degree of win. And of course, the first step is identifying the conflict. There's a couple of responses to conflict. There's the exit response, which is you have a conflict and you just leave it. There's a neglect response, where you just have to maintain the relationship, but you just kind of neglect the issue. There's the loyalty response, which is you're more loyal to the relationship than the conflict. And then there's the voice response, which is where you talk out their conflict. So there's a number of different, and there's a dichotomy of passive and activeness. So anyway, so there's a number of different responses to conflict. So let's talk about some unproductive communication patterns during conflict. The early stages, where there's a lot of negative climate, a lot of negativity about the conflict. The middle stages is kitchen sinking, and what that is when you have one conflict and then all these other issues start coming out. So it's, you have a conflict with your roommate, they ate your Fruity Pebbles, and oh, by the way, you didn't clean the bathroom last time. Oh, you had your friend over and I don't like them. And you drank my milk last week, or you did this and that. So it becomes more than just, yeah, my Fruity Pebbles. So then the later stages, there's some, a lot of miscommunication. So those are unproductive. Avoid those particular types of conflict resolution. Then there's constructive, which is, obviously this is a communication-based class, so we talked a lot about the communication issue. You stay focused on the main issues, which is, the Fruity Pebbles, not the roommate, didn't clean the bathroom or whatever it is. And then bracketing, which is keeping the conflict enclosed. Not interrupting, except if you need clarification. And then the later stages is where you contract and you kind of acknowledge that there was a conflict, but then focus more on the relationship. And of course, recognizing and acknowledging each other's points of view is important. So you may have a point of view and they may have a point of view that may be different. That may just be where the conflict is, where you see the same thing but you see it differently. So then there's a little table, and this is in your book too if you want to talk about constructive and unproductive communication. You can check that out in the book. It's probably easy to read that on the PowerPoint. So as usual, the book gives you a little pep talk on how to have effective communication during conflict. Focus on the overall communication system. So don't just focus on the conflict, focus on the overall relationship. Tying conflict purposely. Maybe the best time to bring up conflict would not be when somebody comes home from work and they've been working maybe a 10-hour day and they come home and they just want to, either have dinner and go to bed, or have dinner and watch Sports Center, or whatever the female equivalent would that be. The best time, maybe a Saturday afternoon when they're just hanging out, or you're having, something positive happening. So don't bring up conflict when it's at a bad time. Obviously, you want to aim for win-win. Anytime there's shared resources, there's going to be, there probably is going to be conflict, but as long as both sides get something out of it, that's a win-win, and that's what you want to go for. Honor yourself, your partner in your relationship. Don't give in too much on the conflict. That's to make you bitter and not so. But also don't disrespect the other person in the conflict, and then focus on the relationship. And then show grace, and that just deals with dealing with things appropriately. So the book has some conflict management skills. Like I say, attend to the relationship, not the conflict itself. Communicate supportively. Listen mindfully. Own your feelings, thoughts, and issues. Don't blame others for the way you feel, the way you think, and what's going on. If you're having problems at work, it's you have a way to resolve that problem. Or if you're having problems with your car, it's not anyone else's fault. Or if you're having problems getting enough rest or not exercising or whatever it is you're having problems with, it's your own problem. You need to deal with that. Now, don't blame others. Check perceptions. Look for points of agreement. In any conflict, there's going to be probably some place you agree. and look for other ways to preserve the other's face, and then also imagine how you feel in the future. This is preserving the other person's face is just kind of their own perception of themselves. So don't try to in the conflict. Don't try to tread on their personality. Don't make them feel bad about themselves. And then imagine how you feel in the future. So imagine in the future when somebody eats your Fruity Pebbles. How are you going to feel? Now that's all kind of also some people aren't going to care if somebody eats their Fruity Pebbles. But just imagine how you might feel in the future, or how they might feel in the future. So those are your conflict management. So that's your pep talk from the book. Next time, we're going to talk about friendships. But before we do that, the assignment is to respond to a conflict scenario. If you look online, you will find the interpersonal conflict. There's 2 issues. One is I'll just read it. The person who you have been dating suggested that it's time for you to talk. You talked about commitment. You feel ready to discuss a serious relationship with a partner. Insists that he or she thinks the two of you are ready to talk about it. Give your response to that conflict. Imagine yourself in that person's shoes, I guess, and how would you respond to that? And then the other was when your friend brings up a political race and you make a comment about the strength of the candidate you support. Your friend says, "I can't believe you support that jerk. What has he done for the environment?" So imagine having a political argument and there's a conflict over that. So what I want you to do is, once again, 1 page, Times New Roman, 12-point double-spaced response, and provide a response to the dating scenario or the disagreement about politics, and submit that both to the Dropbox and to the discussion board, and that's it. Otherwise, that'll be next Tuesday, July 24th. Turn that in, and see, I think that's everything I want to talk about today. So, once again, have a good rest of your week. It's supposed to be upper hundreds, so if you have time, go visit a pool. I live 2 blocks from the OU pool, so I'm definitely going to be checking that out at least once. So, do something cool, at least stay in the air conditioning, and have a good rest of your week. Bye.